So to start things off, I should know that there were so many bad episodes during this entire season, and I had to pick my 7 worst ones out of it. And much likely, people and fans all over The Loud House say that this is one of the worst seasons of The Loud House, and I can actually see that. It began so much on a bad note, and it ended on a sour note. I don't know whose brain was active during this season, but I can assure you, they were not very bright. Fam scam. Do I even need to fucking tell you about why I hated this one? Especially with the one trope I cannot really stand. And it just didn't happen in the very second act. It happened in the very beginning of the first act until it got into the beginning of the third act. Especially when this is coming from Lola Loud, trying to impress a new girl named Cricket. I can't fucking imagine why someone would name their kid that. And tries every being in her fiber to actually become friends with her by fibbing up to think that she actually lives with the McBrides instead of a real chaotic Loud family who have no manners. I pretty much explained about why I did not like this episode, but someone else here has something to say about it. And seeing the fact that he and I considered this to be the weakest Lola Loud episode, for now that is.
Hello everybody. I am here once again to talk about my opinions on another episode that the Loud House critic has already reviewed in the past. And this episode is the one I didn't even participate in. And although I have said Lola is my favorite character on the show several times at this point, even good characters can have bad episodes. And the main reason why I don't like this episode is because they completely changed Lola's character in this episode. Like seriously, what the hell kind of character is this? This is not Lola Loud that we know and love. This is a completely different character. And she's basically following the footsteps, just like Lincoln did in Making the Case from Season 1, and Lily did in Small Boulder from Season 6, although that episode came out a few years after this episode did. Remember, those two episodes basically treat Lincoln and Lily trying to oppress someone, and in the end it completely bites them in the ass and makes them an outcast. This episode is basically the exact same thing as Lola is going through right now. She tries to impress a girl, and it ultimately ends up biting her in the ass. Next time, Lola, do not go through that. It could make you an outcast, and you have no one to blame but yourself. Throughout the entire episode, Lola lies to this girl, saying that she has a completely different family because she's embarrassed of her original family, the Loud family, was going to embarrass her in front of the new girl around town, saying that the McBrides are her dads of all characters. And this new girl basically believes that the McBrides are her actual real family, and Clyde is her real brother. Eventually, the new girl found out that Lola was lying the whole time after the McBrides said that Lola was not their real daughter. Obviously, this makes the new girl very upset, and Lola being an outcast. So Lola apologized to the new girl and saying stuff that she has never done before and still likes to be friends with the new girl. And the new girl accepts her, and Lola takes her to her house so she can meet her real family. My god, I just really did not like Lola in this episode. My god, I just did not like Lola in this episode. She was a complete dumbass in this episode. And remember that I said in Prizefighter that I didn't like Lola's character in the second half because how dumb she was? That's literally this episode is. Her. And I thought Lola's weakest appearance was the Season 3 episode T-Tail Heart. But no, I think this episode is actually her weakest episode, and I was dead wrong saying that T-Tail Heart was her weakest appearance on the show. As you heard me right, guys, I actually rather watch Sound of Silence from Season 1 than this episode for Lola Loud. You may be noticing that I barely talked about Cricket at all, and there's a reason why I barely talked about Cricket. Because honestly, I think she's actually the worst character in this episode. This character is extremely forgettable. This character has no personality whatsoever. All she is just another pageant girl, and that's literally it. If you want me to care about Cricket, you have to give her a personality. But they don't. Not only that, but she is a completely redesign of Clyde. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. And her dress is literally just Lola's dress but blue. She's probably one of the laziest characters designs I have ever seen, although not as lazy compared to Fluff, or Fake Flip as I like to call him from No Time to Spy, and the 1600s Loud Ancestors. And that's my opinions of Fam Scam, and this is probably going too long than it probably should have, so I apologize for that. Thank you, Loud House Critic, for letting me talk about this episode, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone, and have a great day.
Like fire, hellfire. Appetite for Destruction. This episode, I guarantee, should have been around Lola Loud because honestly, the whole entire plot, it made no sense for Lily to act like this. Even if it was the Terrible 2 kind of routine thing that actually happens in reality. But I guarantee one thing though, if Lola actually behaved this way, it would have worked. But on Lily, I expected a lot more out of her. Not to behave like a freaking rabbit savaging little Red Hulk. She's normally the sweet one.
We heard that! Not cool. Oh, come on!
Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to do my fucking job. You guys eavesdropping and thinking you guys are always perfect all the fucking time. Leave me the hell alone, you freaks! I tell you, they want so much hypocritical attention, they don't even why bother. So anyway, when it came to the very end about why she was acting like this, it was because the cheese was messing up her bowel syndrome. What the fuck? Honestly. That's kind of fucking stupid. You think on day one that actually would have happened, but going for almost at least 2 to 3 days of this going on, I just don't buy it. But I will admit, I did find a few funny moments with Lily in this episode, but somehow they weren't good enough to keep it from being bad. Lenny has some good moments, but they're not enough to save it. I just wish this could have been Lola Loud's episode. In fact, there could have been a different Lily Loud episode compared to Lola Loud that should have never had Fam Scan actually happen. Remove that episode and put Lola in this episode, everything's fixed. It's not one of the biggest worst like number 1 is going to be, but there were just things that felt unpleasant, especially with the Lily Loud character. Like fire, hellfire. Snub. My gosh, do I hate this one. Considering that it's a Lincoln and Freckle Gang episode, along with Lenny with her coworker and school friends in this episode. And it's a real nice touch to see Jackie and Mandy come back in here ever since Everybody Loves Lenny. But it's too bad they actually got wasted in this kind of episode that shouldn't even happen. Consider how Lincoln and the Freckle Gang consider that they think that they own Gus's Games and Grubs as their own personal place where they can hang out at. When really, it's a public service place so anybody can hang around at this place. Not only did I hate how the way this episode turned out, but I also hated the fact how Lincoln and the Freckle Gangs behaved in this episode. Getting stuck up their own asshole while trying to eliminate and get rid of Lenny and her friends, and throwing all these ridiculous challenges so that they think they can kick somebody out if they become the winners. But in the very end, they ended up hurting Gus, and they had to fix everything, like replace everything, throw everything away. And even if they did get along in the very end, it doesn't excuse for how the way they were in this episode. Because later on in another episode in season 7, the same thing actually happens, only this time, Lenny and her friends weren't even in this episode. But at least that episode actually ended season 7 on a great note. Because if this actually ended on season 5, I would have hated it so much. This episode feels like you're watching a mix between Don't You Forget About Me and Friends in Dry Places. And I immediately did not watch this episode again after when I reviewed it. Like fire, hellfire. No bus, no fuss. Do I even need to explain about why I hated this episode, especially when I already reviewed it and everybody has already seen it before? Long story short, it's really annoying and it's really stupid as well. Especially when this is a Lincoln and Freckle Gang episode. Especially when they try to find so many different rides which are pretty pointless and useless at the same time and kind of felt unnecessary as well too. When they try to invade getting bullied by the school bus bullies, who later show up in Tough Guys. The jokes fall flat, the humor isn't great, and the characters are really not that bright, as featured in many in Lincoln and Freckle Gang episodes. I could just simply just ride my bike to school and just not take the bus at all. Like fire, hellfire. Strife of the Party. Oh dear Lord, do I hate this episode. Not only is this episode shit, but it's also too disgusting. Okay, so we finally have a birthday episode with Lola and Lana actually being the center of the attention, and Lola is actually making the party actually work for herself and being taken control of it, when Lana actually wants to turn in line to do so. But seeing how too grossiosity about her ideas are for the party about having some kind of chocolate mud cake and actually having so much garbage and shit around the entire place that's going to be infected by somebody that's going to get everybody sick. And Lola decides to make it not happen by being her selfish mode again. Like, I'm not siding with Lola because she's doing the right thing, again, she got selfish just because Lana had so much grossiosity shit at it, but I'm not actually siding with Lana. But you know what? I couldn't give two shits about what Lana actually decorates out. I mean, is this the kind of party that you actually want to go to? If your 7-year-old was actually having a birthday party that looked like this?
No, I'm good.
Didn't think so.
And the ending doesn't even do so much either, since Lana got to do what she wanted to do. And guess what? I hated it. I think there was a big missed opportunity about how this birthday episode could have worked. They could have actually had the parents actually do their birthdays for them. I mean, why the hell would Lola be in charge ever since before she was even born, which makes no fucking sense at all, when the parents are the real reason that they are the ones who should plan the birthday parties of how the decorations and everything should be for them. Because as I stated before in my review, I could have seen half for Lola and half for Lana. Like, I could have seen one party that's actually pink and princess-like, and the other one could be like a chocolate cake that actually has a bit of gummy worms in them, with some crumbled Oreos. I think a birthday idea could have actually worked like this, but fuck no, they decided to actually fuck it all up. And I think it's almost possibly the worst birthday episode I've seen in the Loud House.
Like fire, hellfire.
Season's cheating. Fuck this Christmas episode. I so despise this episode compared to any other Loud House episode I had just talked about on this list. Especially when this is coming from Lincoln Loud, being the self-centered, selfish, greedy prick that because he just wants his rip hardcore backpack and can't be fucking grateful for what he gets on Christmas Day. And yet he tries to convince all his sisters to try and trade with him so he could just get that one special gift. Turns out he was gonna get what he was gonna get, but instead he forgot to get Lola an actual gift. Wow, what a fucking brain dead who can only think of himself. So he decides to go out and decides to find something until he runs into Chandler and trades his rip hardcore backpack just to get that prize for Lola. And later in the end, he actually accepts the artwork that Lily actually gives him, which he should have fucking accepted in the first place. Jeez, what a horrible character development, and what a horrible way to make Lincoln the selfish prick in this one, when this should have been Lola's episode. I mean, honestly, there are many missed opportunities in season 5 that Lola should have been the center of the episodes. Like in this one, Flying Solo, Appetite for Destruction. I really think that these episodes would have had really gave Lola a big shine for season 5. But no, total misuse of characters, wrong story to use for them, even how the poorly execution is actually done. I could just watch 11 Lives of Leaping and a Flip Miscarriage over this shitty garbage of a holiday of an episode. Then again, 11 Lives of Leaping actually knew how to handle the true meaning of Christmas, unlike this shit did. It's up on the shelf with one of the most hated Christmas episodes, along with Dexter vs. Santa Claus and A Miracle on Evergreen Street. Or Terrence. Whatever, just skip this one. Now, for the first time with this kind of video, I normally wouldn't do this for any of my top 7 favorite or hated episodes, but seeing how much hated episodes were in season 5, I decided to include my 3 dishonorable mentions from this season, because there have been so many hated episodes in this season. Just before I get to my number 1 of what I really hate in season 5.
I'll find her. I'll find her, and I'll find her if I have to burn down all of Paris.
Family bonding. Yep, fuck you. I'm not gonna go back looking at this one. Hate the Family of Spies, and Lola was such a tattletale little brat in this one. And nothing really made sense for this episode to even exist.
I'll find her. I'll find her, and I'll find her if I have to burn down all of Paris.
Blinded by Science. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with this episode about making Flip an entire freaky mutant, when clearly he never was one, and even in future episodes, it doesn't even show any of this shit again. It did have a good antagonist, but she's not enough to save this episode. And you know what? I think this should have been a great opportunity for them to just get rid of Flip in this episode.
I'll find her. I'll find her, and I'll find her if I have to burn down all of Paris.
Broadcast Blues. Fucking hated Chandler. Thank you, Nostalgia Critic, for being my guest star in that review. And Lincoln and the Freckle Gang are too damn dumb to even know what Chandler's character really is, especially when they had to put up with his bullshit in this episode. I mean, if Chandler asked you if he wanted to join your news crew team, what is your proper answer to give to him? Mine is,
Fuck no.
Now, coming to you at number 1 on my most favorite hated Loud House episode from season 5 is Schooled. Okay, so this was approximately an hour episode, and it began season 5 like this way, especially when this took place after Coop's dream. Yeah, you can see there were so many different issues with this episode, especially what made the downfall happen to this one. So Lincoln is actually going to middle school, Lori's going off to college, Lily's starting preschool. You would have to be a complete dumbass to screw this up. I honestly think that this could have been a simple story, and I really thought this was going to be a great one, but unfortunately, it disappointed me so badly. Because not only do you have like 1 or 2 subplots, but you got at least 5 subplots in this episode. First subplot, Lincoln started in middle school, and somehow he's not in the same class with his Freckle Gang buddy. And he tries so many different ways to be with them because, you know, like in Friends in Dry Places, they gotta stick together instead of him just going his own separate fucking way. And where did this lead up to? Him going to Canada. Yeah. Nothing like stereotyping your own people who worked on this show. And on top of that, the Freckle Gang can't even do so much shit without Lincoln, as they much likely did in Friends in Dry Places, and so they have to get him back so badly. I mean, grow up, all of you. And speaking about that, Lori is at college, and she has to go through all these floors that have so many different strict rules, which I never knew that they would actually have, which I didn't even know how university actually works this way. And some of Soda jokes just comes off as annoying, as bad as Lenny's subplot is, how she can't even do some shit without Lori, and she accidentally gets on a preschool bus. I mean, is she seriously that dumb? Don't answer that. It's Lenny, I'm sorry. And speaking of preschool, this leads us to Lily, which I think is kind of the best subplot we actually got into. Which honestly, this could have been like a separate episode of Lily not willing to actually go to preschool because she wants to stay home forever, when really, she ain't gonna have a choice if she's gotta do some character development, if she's gotta learn to grow as a person. But in this episode, she's actually learned to talk in full sentences and starts doing the babyish talk that she's been doing throughout since season 1 through 4. I think somewhat I could have seen 2 subplots working together with Lori and Lincoln about their struggles with middle school and college, especially when they're the first timers being there. Because likely I see more bonding with Lori and Lincoln compared to her with Lola. And speaking about Lori, when she's getting ready to leave off for college, we don't get no open house or graduation happening. Like I said, if you took Friends in Dry Places out of that one, we could have actually had Coop Dreams and would have had Loud Graduation House, which would have had Lori graduate and had in her open house before she actually goes off to college. The beginning was just too short and it was just too dumb. Like they just had to shorten it out. Like it could have been like 3 or 4 minutes of saying goodbye to her entire family while playing some melancholy music as she's just taking off. Even if you didn't like Lori in the first place to begin with, you'll definitely love her when it comes to Gowning Out, Garage Band, Affair to Remember. Yeah, she was a bitch to begin with since season 1, but you start to grow to like her when it comes to further episodes, when she starts getting her further development. If I had to go back in time to review this episode, I could have just reviewed Lincoln's subplot, Vampire Fan could have done the Freckle Gang subplot, Steam Team WK still doing Lori's subplot, and I think I would have had Michael just do Lenny's subplot. Nah, just bullshit, and he would despise that. Actually, I think I would have had Andreas do Lily's subplot, and have David Marcato actually do Lenny's subplot. Not only this episode is poorly executed, but somehow it's poorly done and written. With so many 5 different subplots that you can't even focus on who, and I really hate how they do that. I mean, you could have just had this one be a Lori and Lincoln kind of episode, and have another one be Lenny and Lily episode. Because this is what this one feels like. It feels like they took 2 separate episodes and smushed them together, thinking that it was gonna work. When really, it didn't. It was a bad way to begin season 5, and I just disliked it so much when I was watching it. And I think it's safe to say you could just skip school unless you want to go to Canada. Whew, I'm so glad I made it through all these hated episodes from season 5. Now, let's see what I can do in store for season 6 episodes.